If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. First of all, it's free. There are creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast from your phone or computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you, so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Music, and many more major podcast platforms. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started.
With the 14th pick in the 2019 NBA Draft, the Boston Celtics select Romeo Langford, Grant Williams,
Carson Edwards, Tremont Waters,
Vincent Poirier,
Javante Green,
Robert Williams III,
Jimmy Ojale,
Brad Wanamaker, Daniel Tice,
Ennis Cantor,
Taco Fall,
Marcus Smart,
Gordon Hayward,
Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, Kemba Walker from the University of Connecticut.
You don't like NBA basketball!
And we are back with another episode of From the Rafters, here with our beginning of the week podcast around the association, where we talk about the NBA instead of just the Celtics. But per usual, before we get into that, Sam, my question for you this time: are there any foods that you just hate? Like, is there that one food that you just
mayonnaise?
Like,
Never
Really?
tried it. Never will. Name
Never-
turns me off.
you've never even tried it?
No, not gonna try it.
Why? Is there any
And the
reason?
fucking name is mayonnaise.
So it's just because of the name.
Yeah,
Really? That's
Yeah.
interesting. See, I used to hate mayo, and I used to like eat all my sandwiches with nothing, but now like I kind of grew on me. Like I don't mind it as much anymore. Really though. See, mine is
never eat
onions.
that shit.
I can't eat onions. I just
You don't
can't
like
stand 'em.
onions?
Nah, dude. I can't stand onions. It's the one thing. I will like go out of my way to like. I got a steak and cheese the other day from like this pizza place or like whatever restaurant, and got it delivered. And I got steak and cheese with mushrooms, and specifically asked for no onions. I got it. I took a bite, and I looked at my mom. I'm like, "Mom, there's a fucking onion in here." And she's like, "What are you talking about?" And like it's to the point where I spit it out. Like I can't eat it. I spit it out, and I see the onion. I'm like, "Mom, I told you, it's right here." And she's just looking at me like I'm a psychopath. I spit out my food onto the table, and I'm 21 years old.
I get it. No, I'm picky. Like I get pissed when they put stuff on like a
Yeah.
burger. Oh, you gotta be kidding me.
It's just I can't do it. I don't care if it's the onions are raw. I don't care if they're cooked like with peppers and onions or on a pizza. Just I can't do it. The one exception I have, like
I actually really like onions. It's funny.
really, the one exception I have is like in a Big Mac, like those little chopped onions. Like those don't taste like actual onions, probably because it's McDonald's. But like I don't really mind those as much. Those are fine. It's just like the real onions, like because like those are onions, but those are like McDonald's onions. Just like McDonald's burgers aren't real burgers. Do you know what I'm saying? Like they're
I understand. Yeah.
it's different. But anyways, around the association, that's a tongue twister, and I already slurred my words in the first place. So, starting off with Boston Celtics, I know two huge fans here, but we'll talk more in depth on the Wednesday podcast. But Celtics sweep the Sixers in 4 games. Just initial thoughts on that, Sam. Get hyped for
Was
a
there
second.
ever any doubt? I mean, let's be honest. You can go back and listen to it. I definitely said season 4.
Oh,
I
yeah.
said I thought they'd win in like 6. So I'm kind
Yeah.
of surprised.
Just in case, just in case Embiid popped off real hard. But Brett Brown let that team down, man. Brett Brown's a moron. I can't. I like as much as I hate Philly. Actually, I was gonna say I feel bad. I don't feel bad at all. But Brett Brown's just such a terrible coach. You watched the game the other day, right? Yesterday.
Yeah.
You see Tobias Harris.
That was brutal.
That
I
was
felt
some
bad.
scary shit, man. I like the fact that he played again was crazy. Like I thought he looked like he was knocked out cold.
Well, that's good that he played because that means he's probably not hurt as bad as we probably thought.
Exactly, yeah. He probably maybe a mild concussion and some stitches. Like after that, I was worried. He looked like he was fucking paralyzed on the ground, right? Like he
looked like he was knocked out,
that was
which he might have been for a second. I mean, that's a
Yeah,
brutal
no.
fall. So
definitely rough. Kemba Walker popping off in games 3 and 4. Finally, going back to the Charlotte Kemba we knew he would be at some point in the playoffs. Do you expect more of that going forward?
Definitely. He's gotten better in every game
Exactly.
that, he's played in the
Yes,
playoffs.
I agree. This is the first time he's been to the second round ever in his career, right?
Yes. Yeah, he scored 19 and then 22 and then 26 and then yesterday had 32. So he improved way, great improvement from the first game for sure. That's what you like to see because, teams are going to start keying on Jason Tatum because he played so well in those first 2 games. You saw game 3, he didn't play as well. Kemba stepped up big time. Jaylen Brown's been really solid as well. And that's what makes this Celtics team really good. And, they should be formidable and a formidable opponent for the Raptors. Oh, I got to stop playing this game during the podcast.
Are you playing poker again?
I'm not. I'm playing Crash, the remaster.
Interesting. But since this is around the association, let's talk about the other team that just got swept, the 76ers. Brett Brown, I think I can only assume he'll be fired before next season starts. Do you see any other major changes to the roster before the next NBA season begins?
No, but Joel Embiid sounded like he was ready to be out of there yesterday.
Can you blame him?
He said like something like, I want to be here, but like, if they don't want me here, it's okay or whatever. It is what it is, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I don't know. The whole organization is an absolute mess. Leaving the bubble now. Celtics move on to the second round. Before we get into the rest of the games, I need to ask you. I'm not trying to expose or anything. It's just a question. Have you been able to catch? I know you're busy with work. Any other games aside from Celtics games thus far in the playoffs?
Once in a while. I've seen. I did see the clip yesterday of Luka. That's what you're going to talk about.
I'm not going to talk about that yet. I think I'm going to go
watched. Let's see. I watched some of the Raptors yesterday. I watched some of the Lakers the other day.
Yep.
I don't know. I watched like a little bit. I don't sit and watch the whole thing though.
I got you. I've been writing some recaps, so I've been catching a lot of NBA action. I've been loving it. But next series up in the East still, Raptors Nets. Raptors finish off their series in 4 games.
I can't believe you tried to tell me that they weren't going to sweep.
Hey man, the Nets are scrappy, dude. They almost came back and won a couple of those. Not all of those were blowouts. They looked like blowouts in the end. But if you actually watch the game, the first 3 quarters were close in like at least 2 of the games. Like it was a very bad Nets team, yes, but it's just like the Sixers. Like they're probably gonna sweep, but like you never know if the team could catch a game. I believed in the Nets team. I'd watched them in the bubble, and I thought they had some promise. So, excuse me, I was wrong. I was very incorrect. Karis LeVert, though. Karis LeVert's a monster. That dude can score. Do you think he'll?
How did he do in the playoffs? I'm honestly guilty. I didn't watch really any of those games.
I got you. I know he put up 35, 6, and 6 last night in the loss. I can go look at his averages right now. I know he put up 30 in at least one of the other games. He was just far and away the best player on that Brooklyn team. In the playoffs, he averaged, it says here he only averaged 26, but then also averaged 10 assists, or 9.5. But I know that's only because I think he had 1 bad game, maybe 2. And that's just because Toronto could throw every weapon they had at him on defense. Because they didn't need to guard anybody else. Because no one else was a threat on that Nets team. So he's been a bucket. He was on all seeding games second team, if that makes sense to you, with like Michael Porter Jr. in them. So
I got you. It's gonna be tough for him next year. What? KD and Kyrie come, especially Kyrie because he's such a prick. But he's not going to be able to get as many touches and score. Or he could be someone you see get traded.
Something I saw.
If they were smart, they would trade him.
I feel like they'd be smarter
or something.
Smarter to keep him off the bench. Like have KD, Kyrie, and them run the first unit, and then Dinwiddie and LeVert as a second unit, because that'd be disgusing off the bench.
Yeah, you say that now, but then like they would have chemistry issues because those guys want to be able to have impact on the game, and they can't because whatever, Kyrie or KD, if one of them's probably going to be on the floor at all times.
Mm-hmm.
So you're going to have that, and they're not going to be the primary scorer. They're just not going to be able to meet their full potential, and it's going to get frustrating for them.
It's going to
So
be like that Celtics team last year with
yeah,
Kyrie.
that's what I'm saying basically. It's like, yeah, they had really good pieces, Kyrie, Al Horford, the Jays, Gordon
Mhm.
Hayward, Marcus Morris, Terry Rozier is probably the best example I can give you.
Yeah, for sure. He played well in Charlotte this year. But another fact from the Raptors game last night, Toronto's bench put up 100 points.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's
Like,
probably not great.
that's terrifying. Norm Powell had 29. Ibaka had 27 and 15. Ibaka's been a force in the 4 games against Brooklyn. Obviously, take it with a grain of salt because it was a very shorthanded Nets team, but still coming into a series where the Celtics don't really have a really tall center that can defend well. I know Tice is good, but he's only 6'8". And especially because Marcus Gasol starts and Serge comes off the bench, it's going to be interesting to see how they throw.
Well, I mean, they just had to cover
weapons
Embiid.
around.
I mean, it doesn't get much harder than that.
That's
It
true.
really doesn't.
That's true, but I feel like it's different because Embiid can't. The Raptors play such a different style of basketball. Like Celtics only had to focus on Embiid in that series. Meanwhile, in this upcoming series, they're going to have so many more weapons to deal with. The Raptors are the deepest team in the NBA, in my opinion. They have the most.
I don't
depth.
disagree, but Marcus Gasol isn't a world eater like Embiid is. Like they're not going to have to do what they did to Embiid.
This is true. I can agree with you there. I think it'll be one of the best series of the playoffs. I'm looking forward to it. Nick Nurse just won Coach of the Year. Shout out to him. He seems like a really great dude too, which is cool. Like he seems like a nice dude. And I know I tweeted, "How can you not love Nick Nurse?" And you kind of responded to me, "I'll let you know in 2 weeks." So we'll have to see how the second round plays out. Heat Pacers. Miami's up 3-0 in that series. A couple of the games have been close.
It's kind of a surprise.
Yeah.
I really thought that'd be more of a gritty series than it has been. I feel like you're going to see more sweeps this year, but then, I mean, if you look at West, you're not seeing that. So just because, there's no home court, so, had this Celtic series, for example, been, in a regular season where you're going between arenas, they probably would have lost at least once in Philly.
Yeah, because Philly was the best home team of all time this season.
Exactly.
Great.
So, not all time.
But very, very, very good. They only lost twice, I believe. I will say, though, on paper, I had this written down in one of my articles. The Heat Pacers series looks really even on paper, but when you watch the game, the Heat are just infinitely better than the Pacers are. I've watched 2 of the games in full, and then one I think I ended up half watching because one of the games ran over. But the way the Heat play basketball, I am convinced. I know. Most of the regular season before the NBA shutdown, right? I, as well as you, I believe, mainly watch Celtics games because that's all that we had time for with school and everything, and that's obviously.
Of course, you don't get them all. It's different with the bubble, where everything's on national TV all day.
But with the opportunity I had to watch Miami play, they are the best basketball team in the NBA. Let me explain this though. They're not the best team, but they're the best team at playing basketball. Obviously the Celtics and the Raptors and the Bucks, Clippers, Lakers are all better teams because they have stars, they have the star power, and they have that force. When it comes to just ball movement, defense, and depth, the Heat are the best team in the league at just playing basketball. I genuinely mean that. They're so fun to watch. Just the weapons they have. None even hasn't even played yet. Goran Dragic has been a bucket. Tyler Hero off the bench. We hear all this about him. He's a good scorer. He genuinely is just perfect off that bench. Bam Adebayo in the middle. Jimmy Butler doesn't even have to carry the load. Duncan Robinson's just insane. They're so infinitely better than the Pacers. Because the Pacers, on the other hand, the most boring team to watch. I can't watch Indiana play. It's awful. But
I mean, you said they're the best at playing basketball, but that's what all the teams do.
I know. I don't know how else to word it though. They're the best.
They're good at running plays and playing hard. I don't know what you're trying to say.
It's just
they're not better than Milwaukee. They're not better than the Lakers or the Clippers or the Raptors or the Celtics.
I know that, but just ball movement, they're very, very, very consistently good at moving the ball.
They're well coached, is what you're saying.
Yes. Eric Spoelstra should win Coach of the Year every year. From what I've seen so far, I guess I've only watched a couple games, but I know
you're seeing him play the Pacers too. I mean,
Yeah, I know.
They don't have Sabonis.
Pacers aren't a bad defensive team though. Like Turner in the paint,
Oladipo's
Oladipo.
not great after coming back from his injury.
I'm
Gordon
just
Hayward effect.
they're very fun to watch. I'll say that. Like
Brogdon's
the
good.
way
I
they
really
move.
like Brogdon.
Brogdon had a great
So,
game the other day too. The way they move the ball is, I think, the most impressive thing to me though, because that ball like never sits in one place for too long. Meanwhile, like I think that's what I'm trying to say. They're the best at moving the ball and like running plays, I suppose, because like with
Celtics
the
played really well. I mean,
yeah,
they had some
they
great
did.
ball movement yesterday for sure. Like there were some plays I was like, wow, all right. Like in the Nick Nurse, coach of the year. There's a lot of good coaches in this bubble.
Oh,
Spoelstra's probably in the bubble that's still left. He's been doing it the longest, I think. So at least with the same franchise.
I think a better way to put it is they're the most well balanced team in the NBA. I think that's much like better way of wording
I don't
it.
know
Like
about that either.
no, just like just a balance of like ball movement, like a
They're
star
the,
in
they're
Jimmy
the most well
Butler.
coached, is what you're saying.
Okay, sure.
Just say that.
I'll leave it at that.
You're gonna piss me off. If you keep saying other stuff because I'm gonna have to
I'm
disagree with you.
I'm very impressed with the Heat. I guess I'll leave it there. I've been impressed with the way they played. Because like you said, I didn't expect them to be up 3-0 against the Pacers at all.
Yeah, and media there. I thought that would be more of a gritty series. I'm disappointed it's not, to be honest. I thought that would be the series to watch in the first round.
I did too. I did too. I will say out west, there's a couple series that I was intrigued by as well. But anyways, the Bucks then the Magic. Magic shocked the world in Game 1, and then I'm pretty sure Giannis just got pissed and said "fuck you guys" and just not gonna let him win another one.
Kind of bummed, honestly. Like after they won the first game, I was like, "Oh, that'd be really cool if they won.
Right? Yeah, it was like a pipe dream.
That'd be really easy for the Celtics."
Man, Vooch has just had no help. Like in the late game, like I've watched all of the games I think in this series, except for a part of the end of Game 3. Like Terrence Ross comes alive near the end. DJ Augustine's been solid, but just Vooch is doing it alone, man. Like he literally has no help. Evan Fournier has been terrible. Like he cannot score at all. It's Vucevic against the world, just like it was with the Nets, except Vooch managed to get one game somehow. It's rough. He needs to get out of Orlando. Honestly, he's way too talented to be stuck there with a team that's going to be infinitely the 8th seed.
Yeah, I mean they are hurt. Like Aaron Gordon,
Yes, this
is
is
not playing to my knowledge.
Yeah,
Jonathan Isaac's hurt.
MCW's hurt.
It's
definitely tough.
isn't it?
It's not as big, but when they have to play Wesley Owundo, it kind of means something. So, I mean, I'm happy that they got one game, but I think it's going to stay at one game. I'm pretty sure Bucks got the next couple in the bag. Or, yeah, it's not going to be pretty for Orlando. They actually play in 45 minutes, so I won't be able to catch that game though, unfortunately. Moving on though to the Western Conference, where things get much more interesting than the East. 3 series in the East are at 3-0. One's at 2-1, but it should be at 3-0. Meanwhile, in the West, it's 2-1, 2-2, 2-1. Oh, 3-1, I guess. But we'll start with Lakers Blazers. We saw the Blazers come in, upset Lakers in Game 1. Game 2 was a Lakers blowout, and then Game 3 was actually really competitive. But LeBron was a little bit too much for Portland to deal with.
And the 41 free throws they took.
Yeah, that also kind of helps. I mean, Philly was taking a ton of free throws in the first half the other day too. That was kind of ridiculous. But what do you think of the Portland series so far? Do you think Dame has another game or two in him, or do you think it's over?
I hope he does.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really know.
Of course.
I mean, they've been close, except for that second game. They got blown out, and they won the first game. I mean, LA shot 41 free throws in that third game, so like that's a little skewed. Even though I was saying yesterday to one of my friends, because I was talking about that, and they were saying that, isn't every game fixed or whatever. I was like, well, like I mean, like I like to complain about the refs like that as like kind of an excuse, like because I'm not a fan of either team, but I want the Lakers to lose. So like to discount what the Lakers are doing, I'm saying that. But like if it's the Celtics, like the best example of what I'm about to say is yesterday. Like you should play well enough to that the free throws don't matter. And
exactly.
Philly shot 19 free throws in the first quarter. They finished the quarter tied up, like 1 or 2, maybe 5. It was 5, I think. So, like, I mean, they just outplayed them. I mean, that's what you got to do. Don't complain about the refs. Just play.
I mean, in fairness, the Lakers did take a lot more free throws, but they also shot terribly from the line. They shot 65%. They like in Portland, they barely took any free throws. Dame took 14, and then the rest of the team took 5 in total. So I guess that definitely made a difference. But Portland definitely was in the game regardless. So you can't like blame it on the free throw differential. Dame and CJ in the first half were ridiculous, and then I don't know if they just got cold or the Lakers stepped up defensively. I even watched the game and I couldn't tell what happened, but that
I watched the second half, and yeah, I saw the stats for Lillard.
They struggled
in the first half.
Struggled in the second.
And geez, man, I'm yawning everywhere today. I saw his stats in the first half, and I was like, wow, he's really on fire. And then he kind of wasn't. So in the second half, he cooled off. It was painful to watch.
Yeah.
Like that's the only guy they really got. I mean, they have McCollum and Carmelo, but that's the guy they rely on. He has to be on fire for them to win.
I agree.
It's kind of tough. Like
so
watching the Celtics yesterday, like, okay, Jason Tatum didn't really
play amazing,
come out like a flamethrower, and then Kemba stepped up, or Jaylen Brown actually started the game hot, but Kemba stepped up in the middle of the game, then Tatum closed. So that's what makes a good team, is being able to have all those guys firing on all cylinders, not Damian Lillard who can give you 60, but then if he doesn't have it, then it's tough.
The third quarter, Carmelo Anthony looked like he was playing in Denver again. Like he was out of his mind, like making these stupid mid-range shots that shouldn't have gone in. The corner threes were there. It's just he looked really good. He's been super good in the series, and even more impressive, he's been guarding LeBron for like the majority of his time on the floor. Like for a guy that was almost out of the league last year, like to see him have this resurgence is really cool. I think he fits really well in Portland too. Do you think Portland will be a playoff team next year?
Yes.
The West is tough.
Actually,
West is tough, man.
I think they're on the decline.
Really?
Well, I mean, think about it. They made the Western Conference Finals last year. This year, they're the 8th seed, even though they had injuries. But like, they still don't look that great from what I've seen. Like I said, they really have to rely on Damian Lillard to will them over the finish line.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Hopefully that can be a good rest of the series, though. Moving on, Clippers Mavericks. Luka Doncic, man, is just so insane. The fact that he's our age, like, I just, it's unbelievable watching him play. 2-2 in the series. Do you think there's a chance the Clippers lose this?
Paul George keeps playing like terrible. Yeah,
he's awful.
And I don't want them to lose because I think they have the best chance to beat the Lakers. But like, I like an upset too. But geez, like I really don't want them to lose.
Mm-hmm. I mean, think about it this way though: if like the Mavericks can get by the Clippers, and you think the Clippers are better than the Lakers, don't you think the Mavs could like get by the Lakers? Like, what isn't that logic make sense?
Well, Pat Beverly's not playing.
True.
Paul George is playing terrible. Like, there's some, wiggle room for. It's kind of an outlier. Like, I don't think the Clippers play like this the whole playoffs if they get by.
I got you.
Which I think they will.
Yeah. Have you watched any of the games? I need to ask you a question.
Yeah, I've watched some of them. Like, not wire to wire, but I've seen.
I got you. So, if you were Doc Rivers, who would you have guarding Luka Doncic? Let me ask you this.
Kawhi. There's no question about it.
Guess who has been guarding him for the
Is it Kawhi?
Nope.
Paul George?
Nope.
I think
Keep guessing. Marcus Morris.
Hey, that's not a bad option either. He's a good defender.
But you have Kawhi and Paul George. Why would you why?
Because he doesn't want them to get tired out on defense. He wants to save their energy for offense. Maybe I don't know.
That's so stupid to me.
He doesn't want them to get in foul trouble.
But they're guarding Seth Curry and Tim Hardaway Jr. What? That just makes no sense to me. Like, why would you? Luka Doncic in the win dropped 43 points on 58% shooting. And you're not going to put Kawhi on him? And Kawhi guarded him a couple possessions late in the game and absolutely shut him down. But then you saw him hit the game winner, obviously. Kawhi switched off of him, and they had Reggie Jackson guarding him. It screwed him, obviously, as we saw. So
One thing
it's
I've
just
noticed in the playoffs is like there's a lot of times where guys switch when they don't have to.
yes,
They just
yes.
kind of go through the motions. The screen's there.
Uh,
They're like, all right, whatever. I mean, that could be the game plan, just switch everything or whatever. But like a lot of times, like they just don't need to.
I couldn't agree more. Something else that happens way too often. How come so many people are fouling 3-point shooters like on shots? That happen. It's been happening so much in the bubble, even in like Boston's like Celtics games. I don't get
Because the rules are now soft. Like
it.
the rules have changed.
It's true. That's also true. I don't know. So you
To
want the
get a foul on a
Clippers?
three, you should have to absolutely get hammered.
You've said this so many times. I agree, but it's just it's shooters league now, man. That's literally all it is. So you want the Clippers to win because you think they have the best chance of beating LeBron?
Yeah, I don't want the Lakers to win, so I really want the Clippers to get through and play them.
So is that because you think? Do you think the Celtics would have a better chance of beating the Lakers or the Clippers in the finals?
I think they can give both of them a hard time, to be honest
Okay.
with you. I mean, they blew out LA and Boston this year, and the Lakers in Boston, and they
Yeah.
played two tremendous games against the Clippers.
Yeah, that's true. It's a great series. I honestly, I think just for the sake of the upset and watching good basketball, I'd like to see the Mavs win or at least have the series go to 7, just because I think it's been super competitive so far. The Mavs were down like 20 points in the first half yesterday too. Like no Kristaps. Luka was a question mark before the game. Did you know that?
Because he hurt his ankle.
Yeah, dude. He's
That was
crazy.
crazy.
He played. Like, more power to you, the guy. That's crazy. Anyways, Thunder Rockets. Um, honestly, like before Game 3, when the Thunder won in OT, this series has not been close. Like the Rockets have just looked like the far superior team. And if I'm being honest, like I'm gonna sound like a total hypocrite. I love watching them play. Aside from James Harden, let me say that. Aside from James Harden, like watching the Rockets bench play is so fun.
Oh
But
yeah, it's like probably fun when they're not playing your team.
yeah, exactly. That's it. I said this to my brother. Like, I hate playing them because they play like dickheads. But aside from James Harden, who does still piss me off because he doesn't pass the ball, even though he averages a ton of assists, they're so fun to watch. Jeff Green has been hooping, dude. Jeff Green in the playoffs, crazy. Do you think? Have you caught any of these games so far?
No,
I
and I
got
don't
you.
plan to. I
That's
hate the
fine.
Rockets.
That's fair enough.
They're probably they're a better team than OKC because they have more experience. Both those guys been to the finals.
Yeah.
Like they're just built to play the playoffs more than OKC is.
I
They're
agree.
young. They
Russ
first
hasn't even
time
played.
for a couple guys.
Russell Westbrook hasn't played yet in the playoffs. He's still
then
hurt. I don't know. Like,
there's no excuse then. That's
no,
kind of
yeah,
terrible if you're getting beat like that by just Harden.
yeah. Games 1 and 2 were literally not even close. Harden played like okay. Like he played really well in game 1. He dropped 37 on efficient shooting. But games 2 and 3, he did not look good at all. Like game 2, he put up like 21 points on 31% shooting and 18% from 3. And the reason the Thunder lost was because they had Daniel House drop 19, Tucker 14, Covington 10, like Gordon 15, Green 15, and Rivers 11. Like it was just everyone was making shots. And you know how the Rockets usually like shoot a bunch of threes and that's why they win games?
Yes.
They've been terrible shooting the ball. Like they've been like not I guess terrible is a strong word, but they have not been great shooting the basketball. They shot 38 in game 1, which is like solid. It's decent. But like the reason they're winning is because they're just driving to the hoop. Like you'd think Sam Adams could defend the paint better. The Rockets are
Steven Adams.
Steven, dude, I say that all the
It's
time.
not the first time you've done it either.
I know. I do that constantly. I call him Sam Adams because of the fucking beer. No, Steven Adams, you'd think he'd do a good job of defending the paint. Rockets are literally getting whatever they want at the hoop, like driving, and then like obviously they kick out for a 3. But I think
because
the
they
Thunder,
run 5 out, and Adams has to be on the 3-point line because they don't play with the center and they can all shoot.
exactly. But like the only reason, like the Thunder are so afraid
They're
of
playing
the Rockets.
2K offense. That's how you should play
Yes.
offense 2K.
Yes, exactly.
Drive and kick.
The Thunder are so afraid of the Rockets shooting threes that they're not defending the paint, and it happens, but they're getting killed. They won game 3 because Shea Gilgeous-Alexander had a really good game. Chris Paul like led the team, but I have zero confidence they can win this series if they keep playing the way they are or the way they have
They're
been.
down 3-1 now, right? So
2-1, 2-1, 2-1.
oh, it's still 2-1.
They played today, but
Oh well, then I mean they won Game 3.
yeah, but in
They
overtime,
played well in overtime.
only because the Rockets were cold shooting the ball. Like, and I picked the Thunder to win the series like last week, like before the playoffs started. I picked the Thunder, but after watching the first two games and most of Game 3, the Rockets have just been by far the better team. Like, regardless of the Thunder winning in overtime the other day, like I don't know. I have faith in the Rockets now, even though I agree. I do hate to play them, but outside, like I said, outside of James Harden, who I still don't like watching play because it's boring and just the same shit every time. Like Jeff Green is cool to watch. Austin Rivers is fun. Like they're a scrappy team outside of the bearded guy. I'm liking it, and that leads me to the last series we have to talk about, and probably the most entertaining guy in the bubble, Donovan Mitchell and the Jazz taking on the Nuggets. What drug did Donovan Mitchell take? Have you been keeping up with what he's been doing?
I have not, but he has been playing.
Dude,
I know he's been playing well. I haven't watched.
He's dropped 50 twice this series. 50. Like 57 in game 1, which is the third most in playoff history.
Right.
And then 51 last night to beat the Nuggets by 2. And Jamal Murray put up 50 last night as well. 2 players in that game had 50 points. It's just crazy because the Nuggets won game 1, and like everyone was like, "Oh yeah, the Nuggets. Obviously, we think they're gonna win." Like I think we both picked the Nuggets to win that series, right?
Yeah,
and
Nuggets are like a sleepy good team.
They've just sucked. Games 2 and 3 weren't even close. The Jazz won game 3, 124-87. It's just Donovan Mitchell, man. He's just. You know what's the worst part about it? In game 3, Jokic had 15, Murray had 12, and Bol had 11 in garbage time, but no one else had any like points over 10. Meanwhile, Gobert had 24 points. There is no world where you should be giving up 24 points to Rudy Gobert. Like, he's great on defense and all, but man, that's not a good look if you're the Nuggets.
Yeah, it's definitely not. It's really the only good series we've got.
Yeah,
in terms
and it's
of
not
closeness.
like exactly, and it's 3-1 now. The Jazz are up 3-1.
Oh, they won yesterday?
Yeah, they took the game by 2.
Oh my God, I thought Denver won last night. I don't know.
Nah.
I thought I saw something that they won.
Nah, dude. The Jazz took game 4. Donovan Mitchell dropped 51. What's his face? Conley dropped 26. He's been amazing since the birth of his son on some Fred VanVleet shit. Jordan Clarkson's been great this series. Clarkson's averaging 20 points in the series right now.
And that really sucks for the Nuggets, and that's tough.
Donovan Mitchell's averaging 35.7 points. It's just.
I mean, good for him. I like Donovan Mitchell, future Celtic, by the way.
Me too. Oh yeah, 100%. Obviously, I don't know which off season exactly, but he'll be here.
He'll be
I don't
here.
know how is that lineup gonna work. He'll probably run point for Kemba.
Telling you, Kemba's getting old. They're gonna have to replace Kemba. Like, not all at once, but at some point they're gonna have to replace Kemba.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. We always bring it back around to the Celtics, no matter what we talk about. So, before we get into a couple other things, I wanted to mention, I want to go over like the losers in these series so far. So the Sixers lost. We kind of talked about what they're going to look like next year. We talked about what the Nets are going to look like next year. So I want to do the same thing for every other team that is like projected to lose or we think is going to lose. So the Heat are up 3-0. Pacers are no team has ever come back from 3-0. I'm pretty much going to count the Pacers out here. What happens next year? Do you think they run it back with Sabonis? I feel like they're one of those teams that's just
they have a solid team. It's just
is it good enough to win a
They've been unlucky with injuries. Maybe they fire the coach. That's the only thing. McMillan might be gone. Who knows?
Yeah, I don't know. Do you think that roster's good enough to win a chip though? And see, my thing has always been this: like, if you know your roster's not good enough to win a championship, like, do you just like gut it? because like I don't think they're going to be good enough in the future to win either with their current roster. Do you know what I'm saying? Like at least the
Well,
Mavericks, like they'll get better.
they might be able to compete. I mean, I think Brogdon's a stud. So
Yeah.
if Brogdon, Brogdon's gonna grow still. He's still young. Oladipo, if he gets,
No, he's
back to
not.
his peak,
Brogdon's not young.
he's relatively young. He's not super young.
Let me look.
He's what, 26?
27.
27.
It's because he came in as a rookie out of Virginia, but he went all 4 years there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like Sabonis is 24. He is young. Turner's young. I don't
Oladipo's
know.
probably 27, 28 too then.
28, yeah. They're like, how old's TJ Warren? Because he's been like an emerging star for them too. He's 26. I feel like they have 3 or 4 more years of this squad left. But is it worth it? Do you know what I'm saying? Like, is it worth to keep running this team back, especially with the likes of Boston, Toronto, and Milwaukee coming up in the East?
I mean, maybe you Oladipo and Sabonis at peak level are both all-star players.
Yes.
Brogdon is a solid point guard. He's pretty good.
He could be all-star level too. He's really good. I do like him.
I don't know about all-star, but he's capable of being, there.
Yeah,
for sure. Like he's good.
Yeah.
Miles Turner, people are saying he kind of sucks.
He's
He
okay.
doesn't suck, but like he
He's just
sucks like in comparison to what people think he is.
He's just very two-dimensional. He can like shoot the three and block shots. He reminds me of Brook Lopez. Like he's a good guy, but he's just not amazing.
Okay, so you've got him. Then TJ Warren. So I don't know, maybe you package like Turner and somebody else for
another asset.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess they don't really have an alternative either. Like, what's the alternative? Like, gut it for young assets right now, or like trade for younger guys. They're just stuck. They're kind of stuck right now with this team, and it's not a bad team. Like, I'm not shitting on the Pacers. It's just, I don't know. They're kind of in the middle. The Magic, like, kind of in a similar situation, just with a worse roster. If I'm being honest. It's like, what do they do from here? Do they trade Vooch? Would you trade Vooch while his value is really high?
They probably should, to be honest with you, because nothing's going on in Orlando.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know. They're just very 7-8 seed every year. I've seen rumors, or less so rumors and more so like this should happen. Vucevic to the Blazers. I think that'd be a solid fit if they can run Vucevic.
Can they afford it?
Power forward. That's the one thing. I think maybe if they dump Whiteside's contract this offseason, they can, because he makes a lot of money.
Yeah, but who's going to take that?
I think he's a free agent. Like, I don't think he'd be on the books.
Oh, well. In that case, yeah, I guess they could do that.
And then trade. Yeah, he makes $24 million, and he's a free agent this year, unrestricted. So if they let Whiteside go or get him to a team-friendly deal, which I don't think he'd take because he's always had that mentality of I'm the best, they could probably trade. I'm trying to think of a package they would give up, though. Maybe, like, if you're the Magic, you'd want a pick or two, Anthony Simons maybe, and, like, I don't think they'd give up Gary Trent anymore because he's been really good. Like, Wenyen Gabriel's been okay, so maybe you ask for, like, Simons, Wenyen Gabriel, and a first for Vooch, because I don't think they can get too much because Vooch makes a lot of money and he's older. So, I don't know. But what do you think the Magic do next year?
I honestly think they should blow it up. I don't have a specific thing that they should do, but like, what do you really have there? Vucevic and even he's okay.
Yeah, they have Fultz and Bamba, I think, are their best, and Isaac. Isaac is a really, really good defender.
They need to do something with Mo Bamba because he just kind of sits there and doesn't do anything. I
feel like if they gut it a little bit, trade Aaron Gordon, maybe he's okay, but like run Isaac at your 4, trade Vooch, give Bamba a chance, and then run Fultz at the 1, and then like maybe trade Fournier or like keep him and Terrence Ross as like vets, but just like blow up the bigger pieces and just try to start some semblance of a rebuild in Orlando. Because making the 8 seed every year is great and all, like you're getting playoff appearances, but you're just not getting the draft picks you need to get better. So I guess that's the thoughts on the Magic. Lakers, Blazers, this is, I guess, kind of too close of a series to say anything. but I'm getting to let's assume the Blazers lose, because even if the Lakers do somehow lose, they're not going to change anything. They're just going to run it back. So the Blazers lose. What do they do next year? Do they just run it back again with Dame and try again? Like they've done that for the past 5 years and nothing's changed.
They got to get him some help or something.
Yeah.
Maybe get rid of McCollum. I don't know. I mean, that's a good question because they just really don't have it. I mean, they don't have
the
best
power.
team around him to succeed. He needs.
Yeah.
I mean, McCollum's good, but he's kind of the same thing as Dame is. You need somebody else that does something different.
I agree. They need a defender is what they need. They can't have two like Dame's not awful, CJ's not awful, but you need like Dame to be the offense, and then they need a shooting guard for the defense. Like if they had Victor Oladipo instead of McCollum, like man, that'd be good. Like they'd be better just because they'd have that defense. I don't know. I don't think the Pacers would ever do that, obviously, because it'd just be a pointless trade for them. But something obviously that I've seen would be like if they want to completely shift gears in Portland, like Dame for Ben Simmons or something ridiculous like that, or CJ McCollum for, you know what, honestly, I don't know what directions the Sixers are looking to go in, but if we're just going to live in a fantasy world, do you think the Blazers would do like, oh, we'll give you CJ McCollum and maybe a sign and trade Hassan White? No, not Hassan Whiteside. And like a couple picks and something for Simmons, and then they'll take on the Horford contract? Could you see a world where that happens?
Portland takes Simmons and Horford?
Yeah. It's like, okay, we'll take
keeps who?
Dame.
And
so
they send CJ to Philly.
With some like other assets for Simmons and Horford. It's.
I don't think Philly's going to split up their team yet.
I don't either. But like, if we're having fun here, like Portland's got to do something. I'm of the belief Philly has to do something because that team just doesn't work, and that would get rid of the Al Horford problem, right? And bring in an extra shooter for Embiid to play with. So, I don't know.
I honestly think if Al Horford went to Portland, he'd be good again.
I do too.
I mean, I think he looked kind of good in certain parts of the game yesterday.
Yeah, he looked okay. I think Horford either needs to be the starting center getting those minutes or just come off the bench because he can't play power forward. I don't think he should play power forward. That's my thoughts on Horford. So
I always thought he could play power forward, but like
this season, like
yeah. I mean, it worked when he was on the Celtics with Baines.
But I think that was slightly different because both of them could stretch the floor relatively well, and like you don't really want Embiid stretching the floor like that. So,
well, then you just got to find the right player to put him with. Then,
yeah, it's all about putting him in the right situation. I agree. So Clippers, Mavs. If the Clippers lose, they'll just run it back with that team because they're too good and too far invested into this. And I don't even think the Mavs would change much either. Like, do you see anything changing with Dallas if they lose?
No.
Yeah, I feel like they're just in a prime position for years to come. Maybe like switch up the pieces a little. Maybe they don't bring back Tim Hardaway because he makes a lot of money, but they'll probably be a similar team next season. Thunder Rockets. That's an interesting one.
If OKC loses, they're probably not going to change too much. They're going to let the young guys develop. They can't really get rid of Chris Paul. He's on a terrible contract.
Yeah.
If Houston loses, I mean, I don't know if they're going to – maybe they'll start playing with centers again. I don't know. I mean, if it's not going to hurt him in this series, then it's probably not going to hurt him because going in, you said – and we kind of agreed that Steven Adams would be a beast for them.
It hasn't been.
And it hasn't happened, or at least to make an impact, it hasn't happened. So I don't see either of those teams changing too drastically.
You see, I feel like OKC could change some things. Like Danilo Gallinari has been good for them, and Chris Paul. Obviously, I don't think they could trade that contract unless like a team desperately wanted Chris Paul. But the Gallinari's thing is interesting because, like, other teams are going to want him, and are the Thunder really going to want to invest that much money in him, like for the short term when their future is way down the line?
Yeah, probably not.
Where could you see a guy like Gallo ending up? Obviously, we heard the Miami rumors, but where are some places you could see him potentially landing?
Depends how much money he makes. Honestly, he could end up here.
Really? I think he's gonna want
On the
like 20
bench.
mil though. It wouldn't surprise me if he wants 20 mil.
Kind of outrageous.
I mean, that's how
Probably a
much he
bad
makes.
team like the Knicks will give him
Yeah.
money, or
That's how much he makes now. So
yeah. I don't know.
it is what it is. We'll have to see. Both of those teams, they'll probably both have very similar rosters next season, though. Jazz, Nuggets. If the Nuggets lose, which is looking like they are going to, I feel like they'll keep that. Their core is too young. If the Nuggets somehow come back and win, what does Utah do? Like, what do you think Utah's going to do next season? Even if Utah loses in the second round, like, what do you think the Jazz roster is going to look like next year?
See that you could see changes. Like, I don't know, maybe they'll get rid of Mike Conley, or I don't know how much is left on his deal. He'll walk or whatever.
Yeah.
And they have solid help around Mitchell. That's why they're winning right now.
Yeah. The one question is, Rudy's a free agent. Do you give him a supermax? Like, is he worth? I don't think he's worth it. But
No, he's not.
Does Utah do it though? Is the
They
question.
might give it to him, but I don't think he's worth it.
Do you think
That'd
you
be a
could
bad
see-
move. There's just so many other centers they could get that are better.
Yeah. Even like, I feel like Aaron Baines would even be better. Like Rudy's, like, don't get me wrong, Rudy's like the best defender in the NBA, like in the post. But just, I don't know, man. He's just not worth $35 million a year. And just, do you think he would take the money somewhere else, or do you think he'd be like, okay, I want to stay in Utah?
I feel like Europeans are more loyal, actually.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like they just tend to stick around and stuff, so he might
Yeah.
stay. I'm just telling you, like the Knicks or some garbage team, Pistons, someone's like giving money if he wants it.
That's true. That is true. Well, I mean, that's all the matchups. I think this is a pretty good episode. I'm happy with what we talked about. I'm looking forward to watching specifically the rest of that Clippers Mavs series. Do you have a series that you're looking forward to the most, aside from obviously Celtics Raptors?
No, I was about to say Celtics Raptors.
I knew you were. That's why I stopped you. Anyways, guys. Also, I wanted to tell you, and I guess I can tell our viewers too. Shout out to the Instagram at BannertownUSA on Insta. I post stories. Some Celtics players are seeing them when I tag them. Marcus Smart, Ennis Cantor, Grant Williams, Romeo Langford, Jaylen Brown all saw some of the posts. It's cool. I had a tweet that I put out the other day. Javonte Green retweeted it. So Sam and I are feeling a lot of love on Twitter and Instagram right now, and we really, really appreciate it. Also,
I had a couple big tweets yesterday, so thank you for that.
Also, you know, I mentioned that Trevion Graham, forward for the Hawks, he saw one of the stories, right? And I didn't even tag him.
That's kind of,
Did
I
I
don't know,
tell you
that's
that?
so weird.
Right, and he responded to the sticker. Like, I put a sticker on for Javonte Green to respond to like say you should come on the pod, and Trevion Graham responded to it with like a muscle arm emoji, just responding to it. I was like, yo, and he like looked at all of my stories. So I messaged him. I was like, appreciate the love, bro. How are you doing? Like, just to see if he'd answer, and like, it's just cool to see he like, I don't know, interact.
Well, he
with me.
didn't continue the story, so I don't think he answered.
No, he did not answer me yet, but he responded to the sticker, which I thought was weird because it wasn't like
That's cool.
answer, but it wasn't like a question for him. It was like for Javonte Green, and he just responded to it. But it was still sick. Like, I'm not complaining.
That's pretty cool, man.
I know. Big
I
things.
don't think I've ever had any of that happen, but I don't even know how Instagram works anymore. I haven't used it in a while, so I don't know if there's like ways he could find you. The way Instagram used to work for me, it was just kind of linear. Like I never really found anything that I
think
didn't
it's-
look for or
I think
follow.
it's in the hashtags, if I'm being honest. I think that's what it is. Like, people can
Yeah.
search hashtags and do all that. But
I guess.
pretty cool to see people on the Celtics seeing my post. Romeo Langford was the first person to see it. I tagged him, and it was literally like less than 10 minutes after the game had ended, and he already saw it. Like, he was just on Instagram right after the game.
Pretty cool.
Anyways, yeah. Make sure to follow the Instagram, Bannertown USA, and I'm on Twitter at Bannertown Jack, and the podcast is _ from the Rafters, and I'll throw it over to Sam per usual, and to Soph here.
Guys, thanks for listening. I don't know. I think we did say 2,000 listeners the other day, but thanks
Yeah.
again.
Huge.
You know, it means a lot. We enjoy doing the show. We enjoy doing Twitter and everything else we do. I'm glad you guys like us. If you're listening, you obviously do. So we appreciate that. Watch the recaps, and if you have any good ideas for the Raptors series, let me know. I have a couple in mind, but they're not world beaters or world eaters, whatever the hell it's called. That's our show. Follow me at Bannertown Sam. Bye.